The following podcast contains opinions from paid professionals. The information provided in this podcast is general in nature and not advice. For free and confidential support, call 1800 858 858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Welcome to another episode of So We Think, getting into a big Golden Eagle Day and Derby Day, aka Coolmore Day, down at Flemington. Benway, before we get into our guest and race day previews, after we spoke to James McDonald on Monday, news that Via Sistina will not contest the Melbourne Cup. She will head to the Champions Stakes on Champions Day.
Champions Day's built.
Hasn't it just?
Yeah, there are a few that are targeting that. But yeah, he got a disappointing text during our interview that broadsiding wouldn't be going to the Derby, and then evidently another disappointing text in that Via Sistina wouldn't be going to the Melbourne Cup. I think the Melbourne Cup needed her. It needed a headline act, and it's a real shame that she's not there. I kind of get why she isn't, and clearly they've prioritised the horse and decided to go a different way, but I am disappointed from a Cup side of things that it'll miss her.
The Cup needed her more than she needed the Cup.
Agreed.
And to give her another 5 days into the Champions Stakes, that makes a lot of sense. And that's typical Chris Waller. Horse first. She's proven over the 2000 she'll be very, very hard to beat on that final day, you would have thought.
I'm not convinced they're convinced she runs 32 strongly yet.
I don't think anyone, until they've done it, they don't know.
You got that impression from James too, didn't you?
He said she gave him a feel, but you don't know until race day. You just do not know until they contest the 3200. Like it's a bit of it's an unknown. Having said that, for our friend who was on the show on Monday, I still think he's a chance of riding Buckaroo. That jockey booking has not been made public yet.
So he can ride at Buckaroo's weight.
He'd be struggling to do so, but yes.
But Jow can ride lighter. So if you were Chris Waller, you could have James on Buckaroo, have Jow on any of those at lower in the weights, so you can utilise both. Whereas if Jow rides Buckaroo, James can't ride those at lighter weights. So that's your thinking as to why?
Yeah, and the longer that this goes on, like most jockey bookings have been revealed by now.
The assumption is it will be Jow, but I agree with you. I
don't think it's done and dusted yet.
Neither do I.
Saturday sees the running of the Victoria Derby, and after a really impressive effort in the Spring Champion Stakes, we'll get to see El Costello on the quick backup. You said on Monday that you wanted to chat to his hoop, Josh Parr. Not Josh Parr, Josh Parr.
Port Adelaide star.
Ask and I will deliver. Benway, Josh Parr.
Hi, Josh. Thank you very much for coming
man.
on. I don't know if that claps for you or for Em, but I did request to speak to you, so it's so good to see you on the show. We've fallen in love with El Costello, as I'm sure you have, and I feel as though it was so important for you to get a good flagship horse, and you've got it, haven't you?
Yeah, most definitely. He's a really exciting colt. His progression's been remarkable, and his effort in the Spring Champion was it was thrilling, wasn't it? So, very exciting horse to be aboard.
Okay, so the 2,500 metres, are we all sweet?
Well, it gives me every indication that he'll be sweet for it, Em. It's I guess we don't really know until we get there, do we? But he's got the perfect attitude. He's got a beautiful fluid action. He relaxes really well. Everything suggests that he'll get it. So fingers crossed.
As it turns out, trainers with the name Cummings, they kind of do know a thing or two about derbies. Bart was 6, Anthony's 1, James is 1. So I think we can add another one to the collection. Hey, before this horse came along, the Golden Eagle last year with Oban Buramai was such a big moment for you. It was probably the ride of your lifetime. I'm sure you can clarify that. But after that, did it feel like a bit of a lull? You know, opportunities weren't exactly plentiful. And I got the impression that you thought that may have been your huge moment that catapulted you, and it kind of didn't happen.
Yeah, that's a good point you make, Ben. I guess winning a $10 million race, there's not many opportunities like that anywhere in the world. So I guess it did feel to me that there was potentially a really big boost in my career. I wasn't able to to follow the horse into the next preparation when he ran in the Doncaster. I did have a little dip my toe in the water to see if I could get to Japan off the back of that, and that wasn't possible. So I guess it didn't give me the boost that I thought it could have. But I must say it gave me a great memory and an experience that I can lean on in pressure moments too, because that was obviously a lot of pressure surrounding that particular race, and I handled it quite well, I thought. So it's actually given me a really positive experience leading into big races like the Derby this weekend.
That's a great way to think about it because it was an unbelievable ride. But I do remember, Ben, it was you might be able to clarify this, Josh. It was probably late February when they announced that Oban Biramai would come back and race in the Doncaster, and I bailed Josh up in the jocks room and said, we should, let's go shoot something, for our 7 coverage, always talking to these guys about what they've got coming up and what we could go and shoot. And I had no idea, and I don't think it was public at that stage, that you had lost the ride. And he goes, no, I'm not on him.
Yeah, and weight-wise, it was touch and go, wasn't it, Josh? I mean, you probably could have got there, but
yeah. So that was the final decision made around that booking. I was pretty confident I could do the weight, but look, it's it's in the past now. There was certain agents that got involved and made things very messy, but we'll leave that one.
Yeah, fair enough too. But one last thing on how you felt after that. Given the weight that you ride at, opportunities you're never going to have full books everywhere you go. But it's all about picking your mark and having the right opportunities. And I very briefly chatted to you, and Sam Clippert and I felt like was in a similar boat. He just won the Everest, felt as though that could kind of catapult him, and he had a similar feeling of, I've still got these limited opportunities. So how do you manage that and kind of keep on point when the big carnivals roll around?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I guess I've come to terms with the fact that I'm not getting full books at each meeting. Obviously, weight restricted, and there's other reasons too.
Yeah,
probably a long list. But what I have to make sure of is when the opportunity does come around, that I'm best prepared to take full advantage of that, and in particular in big races. So each carnival that comes around. Obviously, I've had Overpass recently, El Castello. We spoke of Oban Biramai. When these opportunities arise, I must be at my best, and I've discovered how to do that now. And I think I'm not sure if it would be possible to be in that mindset and prepare like that all year round. But I've certainly worked out a way to do it at carnival time. And it might only be once, twice, maybe 3 times a carnival, just with those limited opportunities. But I feel I'm doing okay at it.
Oh, you're doing okay.
I want to know the specifics of that. What's been the big discovery?
Oh, well, a lot of it's been trust and belief that I can actually get it done. And so the week leading up, my thought process just changes. It's not a lot, but just enough to really switch me on. I actually like to feel a little bit nervous days leading up to the event, because when I'm just feeling just slightly nervous, it actually gets my mind thinking really clear, and it makes me pinpoint focus on the form, replays, the horse that I'm riding, and past experiences in those particular races, and it just really narrows my mindset down. That those nerves then sort of switch to adrenaline and focus come race day, and once so it starts like days out, but when that's all coming together, and then on race day I'm just in the right headspace, and then the adrenaline kicks in.
Is there also plan to have maybe longer breaks or more regularly have breaks during the year, and particularly through the middle of the year, to have you fresh for, say, a spring or even an autumn campaign?
It's definitely something I have to do nowadays. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, guys. I'm 37 years of age, but
Hang on, that
I
is a spring chicken to me.
Right.
So yeah.
I do mean that in the most respectful way to anyone that's
to your elders, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But it just means that I'm not trying to go every month, every week of the year, trying to be at my best. I need to give my body a break. Obviously, dieting and wasting throughout the year takes its toll. So what I have worked out, and I've taken this sort of uh, approach of just having 2, sometimes 3 breaks a year, and just being really fresh and ready to go when I need to be.
Can I just? He mentioned overpass, so can I bring it back up? Overpass should have been in the Everest. You know, I said that multiple times here. Josh, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I want to ask you about the makeup of the Everest because I feel as though it's changed now. The first couple of years, it was all about choosing the most likely winner, choosing the best horses for the race, whereas now most of the slots are actually held by those with self-interest and they want to put their own horses into the slots. Do you feel as though there's going to be an increasing trend going forward that it's more self-interest than best horses and horses like Overpass may miss out?
I hope that's not the case, but it does look like it's very likely. You mentioned the self-interest, and I guess we must think of ourselves in that same situation. We'd probably do the same, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But as far as for the sake of the race and its stature and its credibility, I do hope that that's not the case. So I want to see the best 12 sprinters line up every single year, and we get the best. Yeah, we get the best result. Obviously, that was really disappointing. Overpass not being in the race, and his time that he ran on the same day suggests that he would have been in the finish of the Everest. For my peace of mind and my sanity, however you want to explain it, I can't think like that though. I've just had to. I guess I've taken the approach of who knows what could have happened with. But anyway, it was a nice consolation to pick up.
It was 2 mil.
2 mil, yeah. And then the Derby on the week. Like, it's been a fat couple of weeks for JP. Let's talk about Saturday, though, because you don't just go down for the ride on El Castello. You've got a couple of other good rides for Joe Pride, Lek Varte. She is such a big man. She's got to be given a chance in the Empire Rose.
Oh, most definitely. I thought her win in the Angst was incredible. She sat last in a race where they went 7 lengths slower than average the first 1,000 meters of the trip. So her final 600 meters was great. She sets up well in the sense that you can ride her really patiently and wait to use that turn of foot. So the obvious length of the Flemington Straight's going to be an advantage for her. She's in great form. The stable has a cherry ripe, so I'm looking forward to her performance.
Hey, Josh, you may not know, but do you know the backstory with her? I heard along the grapevine that
they
maybe
retired
less than a year ago, she almost died, didn't she?
Yeah, I don't know the particulars of that, but I have heard that this something like this did take place. But thank goodness they sorted that out, and she's back racing.
No, she's back racing really well too. So when you talk about, you've won a Group 1 in Melbourne, haven't you, with Jewess?
Yeah, correct, the Australian Cup.
But when you talk about going down for Melbourne Cup week and having a huge chance in a derby, I mean, that really is kind of where dreams are made. And you must have dreamt of this moment forever, really.
Yeah, most definitely. It's Cup week at Flemington. It's watched all around the world, isn't it? So as far as a big moment's concerned, I believe you're riding a favourite any of these days of this week coming, I should say. It's a big deal. It's a big pressure moment, but a moment that everyone wants to be able to take advantage of. And I did ride Shadow Hero in the Derby in 2019. He started favourite that day, and I didn't go so well for him on a wet track, but I was schooled by the great Damien Oliver. He put warning in the 1-1 and from an awkward draw, and I thought to myself, my God, he absolutely made me look silly. But Hopefully I'm the one doing the schooling this week.
It's funny you would mention Shadow Hero because he was a horse that got the better of Castelvecchio on a couple of occasions, even though, and you may disagree with this, I don't think he was as good a horse. He maybe just had a better mind than what Castelvecchio did, who had a few gremlins like me. He had a few, he had a few gremlins.
Twitches.
Now you've got a son of Castelvecchio, and I do wonder whether you have thoughts on his mindset and whether, I know you raced against his dad, whether you think there are similarities there or whether he has his mind on the job a little bit more, because he seems very tractable.
He is very tractable, and physically I'd suggest that they're very similar. Whilst riding them, it's remarkable how much they are alike. Their mind is different, though. Castelvecchio was somewhat of a lair. He used to get a little bit, he could carry on a little bit, put it that way. But this guy just seems faultless. He just seems, you can't upset him. He goes about his job, track work, race day, you name it. He's switched on. So he's got a really good mind for racing.
Like his jockey.
What are we going to do from that gate, though? I mean, you drew an okay gate last start so that you were able to position pretty close to the speed. What do you do from the widest gate in the Derby on Saturday?
I need to trust him, Em, like I did in the Spring Champion. I need to trust that he'll be able to come back to me after I lean on him slightly in the early stages.
So you'll go forward then?
Yeah, it looks that way at the moment. Obviously, track conditions may change that, but right now that's what I'm likely to do. I have the likely leader drawn next to me. I might be able to get a free cart across. Obviously, there's not a lot of time from the Derby start to the first corner there at Flemington, so it can generate a bit of speed, a bit of pressure. He has got good barrier speed, and I'm confident that he can take up a position without having to do too much work. Obviously, if there's really hot tempo running into that first corner, it's not an be forward at all costs sort of scenario. If I can be there as softly as I can, and then get him to relax throughout, I think that's our best chance of winning.
The only other one's Dashing Legend going around. So you've got a pretty good book once you have a look.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? I'm really, really keen to get there on Saturday. And the last race, the Furphy Sprint with Dashing Legend, just out of form slightly at the moment, but I'm hoping a trip to Melbourne and a run up the straights, exactly what we're looking for with Dashing Legend. And obviously Joe Pride's horses are absolutely flying at the moment, so we can take them on trust.
He feels. Do you think he feels rejuvenated?
Well, I told you this on Monday when I just chatting to you a couple of times over the course of Saturday, Josh. It sounds weird, but you just had this just look about you that you looked really healthy and well. I know that sounds.
She said you were pick of the yard.
Yeah, you were. You were though.
Yeah.
We can see it on jocks' faces though. Like when we're doing pre-race interviews or, you're milling around the jocks room before, in between races and stuff. I can see, it's just me, can see when someone's in a really good headspace and they are feeling well within themselves.
Yeah.
And you were that on Saturday. And we're on a pixelated screen at the moment, but you look great again.
This is as good as you've ever looked.
Well, thank you. My goodness, this is, you're going to give me a big head.
Hey, one last thing I mentioned on Monday, and part of the reason I wanted to get you on was just asking, are you married to this, for life, or is it the sort of thing where we could see you bid farewell within a couple of years? I just got the impression that particularly during the middle of this year, you kind of thought, this doesn't necessarily have to be me forever.
Yeah, it's a good point you make, Ben. And it's at heart, I'm a racing fan, right? I truly love being a jockey. I don't think there's anything more enjoyable than riding in a race. It's thrilling. There's obviously things that come with it, just like any job, that aren't necessarily as enjoyable or as fun, and can be quite demanding. So I guess when, to put it simply, when things are going really well like they are now, it feels like you could do it for a very long time. There's the flip side to that, though, is just doing it a little bit tough with your weight maybe, or your mind isn't quite right. You might not be getting the opportunities, and it can be a real drag. So it's just I guess you ask me this week, yeah, I'll probably ride forever.
Yeah.
Ask me in the middle of winter.
Depths of winter.
Geez, how long am I going to do this for? It's kicking stones around. But there's a bit of a joke around the Sydney jockeys room actually when I'm able to ride a big winner. The boys are quick to say, "Oh, there you go. That'll put another 3 to 6 months on your career." So
Right. Okay.
there's a good bit of banter around that actually.
It's good fun. We've appreciated having you on, mate. We'll be cheering you on for sure. In fact, I can't promise I will. I'll go into more depth in the Derby form-wise later tonight, but I think I'll be coming up with your fella, and geez, he's been irrepressible so far. So good luck on the weekend, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much, Em. Thank you, Ben. See you later.
Cheers.
Josh Parr, one of the real nice guys of racing, and as you said, he's got a good book on Saturday, and then Overpass in the Champion Sprint. It's got to be hard to beat next Saturday too.
Nice guy with a killer instinct, though.
Yeah.
And a
Smiling assassin.
spring in his step at the moment. It's nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Where's next?
Let's get into the Derby then and talk about the other chances other than El Costello. How you're seeing it? I mean, you've got that form, the Spring Champion form, and then there's a couple of other races like the Norman Robinson, the Amy Vars. How do you see that playing out?
Oh, well, I mean, the gate really threw me in a little bit of a spin.
Yeah.
I thought we were pretty clear with what the primary form line was. Victoria, I get the impression they think they've got a couple of live chances there as well. But I think Josh is on the best horse. It just depends on whether they have the luck in running as well. The only other horse that I wanted to touch on, I guess, was Red Aces, because when we had our first show of the
I think it
season?
was, yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about trainers who may emerge. I suggested he may have a Group 1 winner, his first Group 1 winner in the Derby. So it feels I feel dirty now cheering against Red Aces, but they're the two that I hope can win. It'd be a huge story for Nick.
Oh, totally. So they're both on the quick backup, as is King of Thunder, who was the one out of that Vars over the 2,040 metres at the Valley that was hitting the line, like cluttered up.
It's
and
been the
then
firmer too.
Found clear air and hit the line strongly. There's no doubt that he will get the 2,500 metres. So Red Aces and El Costello, the other two. There's a couple there that you could take each way. I mean, it's a derby, so there's always going to be something that comes out and maybe surprises at odds. Saint-Emilion is probably that horse for me who won the Geelong Classic, so obviously over the 22 gets the 25. No, he stays all day. He's a colt by Snitzel, very well bred out of Kylie Kwong. Tim Clark to ride. I think I'd be throwing him in my first fours.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So
gonna
that's
be a
the
good
derby.
race.
In terms of the Empire Rose, there's 3 Group 1s on Saturday at Flemington. For the fillies and the mares over the 1,600 metres, we've got a good push from
James for a tissue.
McDonald on a tissue, yes.
Yeah. We need to remember how good Orchestral is, but that really... It kind of rattled me the other day.
Yeah.
And he didn't technically say it was his push. He said Chris is very keen.
Yeah.
But I loved the run as well last time out.
Yep.
Just popped that last little bit and absolutely loves Flemington. So I won't lie, off the back of that interview, I may have had a little...
So did I.
We're the worst. Do you know
Absolute
what?
worst.
We're very lucky we don't do 50 interviews a
Oh,
week.
God, I'd be broke.
Yeah.
No, I think she's the one to beat. Yes, I do appreciate Orchestral and what she's been able to achieve throughout her career. Multiple Group 1 winner in New Zealand Derby, a Vinery Stud Stakes, third and Oaks. Look, she needs things to go her way, whereas I feel like a tissue's a little bit more bomb-proof. Orchestral's drawn wider than James has on a tissue. Amelia's Jewel's the other really interesting one because it gets the blinkers.
Zardozi's at, what, $17, $18?
Well, they were very slow to put a jockey on her, I noticed, which always is like, oh, they
But even
arm
if
and
she
arm.
does, it's so prep runny.
Yeah.
Like from a backing her point of view, like
I think
I'll wait till
Amelia's Jewel's
Tuesday.
the big watch though. Like, do blinkers sharpen her up? Does she finally get her Group 1 for a Group 1 for Annabelle and Rob? Jury's still out.
Yeah, I think she's a couple of lengths off.
Yeah, a Tish.
Top tier.
She just loves this carnival, doesn't she? Like, they would have set her nearly all year for this week at Flemington. So I don't doubt that. In the Coolmore, so the 3-year-old sprint classic at Flemington as well.
Do you believe in Switzerland yet?
I believe in that Roman Consul form maybe a little more because I worry about a couple of horses coming out of the Everest on, like, that was hard run up against the older horses. That was essentially for a few of them, like I think Growing Empire's, he's a star.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the easiest of races, not the easiest of runs. I do worry slightly that was the grand final and then, well, he's still okay, so let's go to the Coolmore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's elevated each year, though, the Coolmore, hasn't it? To the point where it's not far off the pinnacle on Derby Day.
I think it is the pinnacle on Derby Day.
And I will make and not everyone will agree with this, but Derby Day, it's easy to say, Derby Day has fallen away. One thing that I think has really taken away from Derby Day is the inability to win through to the Cup.
Yeah, so the Archer not being placed on Derby Day anymore.
So disappointing.
Yeah.
It was such a talking point.
I think trainers, though, found it very difficult to back horses up. Some didn't, some did. Like, it's a pretty unconventional, like, you wouldn't see that any other time of the year except this week of the year to back them up after 3 days over a big trip.
I could be peak fandom now, but when I was peak fandom in racing, that was quite regular. You had your Shockings and my Lucky Days and all of those horses were coming through the Saturday and they inevitably ran well.
So I guess that's what the Bendigo Cup was on Wednesday, in a way, the last one.
Jeez, that was one hell of a win.
Wasn't it just? So Holly Doyle coming out to ride Sea King.
Yeah, and people will say, have a look at that overcorrection, $51 into 11, I think was the response. But A, you're there, you know you're running well. And B, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for this new form line, something that jumps out of its skin. We saw the exact same trim up for the Geelong Cup winner because our traders, like every punter, are going, we know what we're getting from this and this and this and this.
But we don't know about the second-tier European form.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what it is.
I know. Hey, on that.
Yeah. Go on.
Well, I won't go into it in detail. We talked about it before we came on the podcast, but we were talking about the scratchings due to the scans and how costly it is for European trainers to send horses over and then have that dream taken away from them. But the one thing that I will say, and the interview with Chapman's gone viral. And it hasn't looked good for Australia holistically and Racing Victoria more specifically. I do think that if you look at the body of work from one of the best trainers in the world, if not the best, body of work in Melbourne Cup runners, you've had a couple die, you've had several break down. They were the catalyst for what we're now seeing. So I think it was 12 to 15 runners and maybe 3 had gone on to do good things after a Melbourne Cup. The vast majority either hadn't run since, had never placed again since, had broken down completely or passed away. So, yeah, you can be critical, but I think the reasoning's good. And they're not, yes, there were shadows in the scan, but they're not jumping at shadows. There is a body of work that led us to this point. So, agree or disagree, I agree it's not a good look for Australian racing, but I believe their intentions are
I can
right.
see both ways with it. Obviously, welfare is paramount and the integrity of the race is paramount as well. But for me, the thing that irks me is that there's 2 different scans that are conducted. So in Europe and in Ireland and Japan, there is not an available CT scanner.
No, which is so strange.
So they do an MRI and then they get here and they have a CT scan. So there's 2 different scans. If you were comparing apples with apples, I get it, but this is apples and oranges.
Do we need to foot the bill?
Maybe the VRC need to stump up and Racing Victoria and get a couple of I don't know. They're obviously very, very expensive.
Because at least then you can say the scan, there's a change.
Correct.
There's been a change between scan 1 and scan 2.
But they can't do that because they're completely different scans.
Well, what is unfair is allowing them to have whatever scans they have available there, putting in all the money to come over here, only to be disappointed a couple of days out.
Yes,
that's unfair.
Yeah. Back to the Coolmore. So I believe in the Roman Consul form. I believe in Switzerland. Growing Empire's a star. No doubting that. He's never finished out of the top 3 in his races. The most fascinating thing in this race is traffic warden. Earmuffs pre-race. I know a very small gear change, but maybe that's the making of him. Obviously scratched at the gates at the Everest.
Yeah.
And he's a colt who gets a bit excited and a bit overwhelmed and likes to show off. That could be the making of him.
Well, I mean, performance-wise, he's never had a drama, but if it improves him a couple of percent.
Well, just stops him from doing naughty things in the
being
gates.
scratched.
And
Yeah.
being scratched.
Yeah. He essentially just ran his race before the race started.
Yeah.
And, it probably depends who is alongside at certain moments as well. There was good support. I noticed a big firm for Bellatrix Star.
Okay, down the bottom there. So looking for 4 on the trot, Blake Shin to ride.
Yeah, probably.
She's been a really good filly this prep.
Yeah, she has. It is tough.
This is
It is tough for the fillies to win a Coolmore.
Yeah.
You got to be god tier.
I'm not sure she's god tier, but
No.
if there's been big money, I'll respect that. Okay, up to Sydney, the Golden Eagle. Of course, we've got the unbeaten French gelding Lazat, Steffi Magnetica, and Jolie Star coming out of the Everest, and then Ascoli Pacino. Geez, most of those international runners couldn't cop a trick at that very interesting barrier draw. They all drew very, very
Very risque.
I most enjoyed watching the faces of Greg Radley, Tom Moxon, and Steve Railton throughout it.
It was hard to maintain focus, wasn't it?
But
Alarm. Oh,
okay.
you know what it is?
Yeah.
I need to call Brett Preble.
Okay.
He's going to join our team
Oh, great.
for Melbourne
bet.
Cup week on
Okay.
Sky One.
All right. Can you say?
I can't. So alarms you can't silent, can you? They override, don't they?
You can just turn off it. can't
No,
you?
no. Then I wouldn't get the alarm.
All right.
We're supposed to be done already.
All right. Call Brett Preble in a bit. Back
Okay.
to the Golden Eagle.
Sorry.
Those Japanese runners couldn't cop a trick in terms of gates,
Yeah,
but are
pretty-
they just a level above?
They are, I hope, and I'll be going that direction. But this race, which I had serious doubts over, is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely awesome. So if you were James, now that broadsiding's
McDonald.
now the broadsiding's not running, would you have gone to Melbourne still, or would you have stayed to ride Jolie
He'd
Star?
chasing the Group 1s.
I know, but there's 10 mil. I know what I'd be chasing.
Yeah, no, he'd chasing the Group 1s. I mean, he has a realistic opportunity of winning 3 Group 1s on Saturday.
Does it make you less confident in Jolie Star in any way, shape, or form?
No, because he just loves that week. I think he's just obsessed with that week down there and he wouldn't give it up for the world. I think he would, I'm not sure he would be totally happy being up here on Saturday.
My read, Japanese horse, best horse, poorly drawn, may need some luck. But probably wins. Lazat, not convinced.
Not convinced on jockey.
Yeah, on Europeans coming
Oh,
over.
just first time makes me a bit I'll get a bit scratchy over that.
Yeah, the Kirin with a K or the Kirin with a C caused a little bit of the Fallons.
Yeah.
So there's
C.
the father and son.
Yeah.
A K and a C.
C.
Well, I don't think a few maybe realised,
Oh, really?
yeah, that there were the two. Anyway.
You're kidding me.
No. Anyway.
It looks like in his early 20s.
Well, yeah, that's only once you lay eyes on him, just on the form.
Oh,
Yeah. Anyway,
wow. That's interesting.
thoughts on? So, would you do that? Would you,
Name my...
Emma, but with one M, or EMMER?
No, not for me.
Anyway, my read is that I'm not keen to trust that. I know a few people at Sky are happy to follow Lazat in.
Yeah.
But so I'd have Japanese top seed, Lazat not too far behind, and Jolie Star's
Jolie
the
Star.
enigma.
Yeah.
If the chap pre-Everest is right, I thought the run in the Everest was a magnificent Golden Eagle leader.
Absolutely. And she's a Group 1 winner over the 1600. She's drawn better than the Japanese horses. So gets Kira McAvoy. There's a lot to like about her. Home track.
It was an expensive trial, the Everest. So to wrap up, what's the best story you're cheering for on the weekend?
It's got to be Joshy.
Because he was on our show.
Well, just because we love him. And that means we've now got a colt who has won 5 on the trot, including 2 Group 1s, breaking through in a super maiden midway, like Group 3, Group 1. That's a real big story. I think in the Coolmore, there's a couple of big stories there. Switzerland in a way, because I feel that Coolmore as an operation have had a pretty average week with Jan Bruegel. And obviously Stormboy being put out for a spell, I guess, at the moment. So it'd be nice to see them with a big result.
Why do you say it like that? You think it's a spell retirement?
No.
No.
Do you?
No.
Maybe.
I don't know that I would race.
And
it
if
again.
Growing Empire were to win, that's a huge story as well for Yulong, because not only have they won a Cox Plate and a Coolmore within the space of 8 days, but that would be their first, like, here we go, here's our guy, like, here's our colt, here's our stallion. We've done it.
Yeah.
Big tick. What about you?
Yeah, they're flying. I agree with all of those. We've had good stories this week. We've had great stories this week. Militarize is one.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
How about him? Well, neither did he. That's why he's back racing.
Yeah. So they're going to gild him.
Yeah, but apparently the insurance hasn't gone through yet. So that story was a touch on the premature side.
Was it, Jen? Now,
Yeah.
okay.
So they insure against them being infertile. And there's certain categories you need to hit. I think it's something like
A percentage?
a percentage of 50 mares, but those mares can't be first-time mares.
Right.
Because then they
The
may
stats don't
be
really line
contributing.
up. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
So
I feel
they're-
sorry for Newgate on that one. But he could come back and
They have
still be
more
a
hits
force
than
to be
misses.
reckoned. Yeah. I think they've got 16 or 17 stallions on the books at the moment. That's a big number.
But our wave raised stocks are not the best. He's a nice addition.
Yeah, that's no doubting that.
All right, enjoy.
Hang on, what's your story of the week?
I probably can't steal yours, can I?
Probably not.
Yeah, I think Yulong's takeover of Australian racing, if the Empire were to strike
Yeah.
in the Coolmore, would be a big story. Not a like. It's not a one for the battlers,
No.
but it would be a big pivotal moment.
They put a huge amount of money into the sport here, and yeah, for sure, it would cement their spot as the empire that they are. I don't know why we call it Derby Day. It is, for me, it's Coolmore Day, because that's the race that shapes the future more than anything else.
It's not the stallion making race it once was, the Derby,
No,
but
the Coolmore is.
I'll still call it Derby.
Okay.
It's Derby Day.
All right, you enjoy jetting down to Melbourne. I'll meet you down there on Sunday, and we'll do a Melbourne Cup preview for everybody, live from Melbourne. Well,
Not a
live.
runner by runner like last year, but we'll touch on most of them.
Who do you want as a guest? I was going to see if Holly Doyle was available. If she lands in time.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Any other requests? Get my little fingers moving on the digits and try and lock someone in.
Melbourne Cup. I'll have a think.
You have a think.
It'll be
we'll
a
have
good
a guest, though, just to talk about the great race and enjoy this Saturday. Bumper cards at both Flemington and Rosehill Gardens. We'll be back with you Sunday evening,
Aidan
I suspect.
O'Brien.
Aidan O'Brien. Leave me out of that one. Sorry, Aidan. I'll chat to you another time on So We Think.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.